baby. Oh, baby. We're back. We're back once again with some good old live stream analysis in action. I'm actually looking at, well, I was looking at SPY for just a moment, but apparently it's gone back to a Bitcoin chart right there. Anyways, good morning to everyone out there in cryptocurrency land. I can see we got our lovely moderators back in the house as well. What's up, Mr. Peter Underwood? Good morning to see you. Anita Cho, or Anita Chu? I'm not exactly sure how to say that. I'm going to go with Cho. Dr. J, a.k.a. J. Very nice, man. Mr. Van Duysen, indeed. Good morning to you as well. Mr. Peter on nice old Twitter. Fuck yeah, actually. Hey, what's going on over here? My streaming software or my YouTube link just went down, but whatever. I think it's still working, so it should be all good. Anyways, keeping an eye on, of course, Twitter and YouTube. I see Pesto. Good morning to you, man. Mr. Cyborgatron, definitely a new name, but glad to see new names here as well. Crawling out of my corner of the Krown cave where I've lived since the start of this channel, looking for my precious. Hey, what the fuck? You're an OG and you've never said anything before ever? Well, fair enough, man. It's all good. I understand it can be. Wait, god damn it, my voice is in the background. Yes, I can understand it can be quite a fair bit. Anyways, Lev Ashen, Mr. Jewman, Mr. Edgar Silva from New Zealand. Holy shit, man. New Zealand actually looks super, super cool. I love it because that is the land of Lord of the Rings and also just looks like, I don't know, it looks like a utopia, honestly, but who the hell knows? Maybe not so much after COVID because things were looking pretty interesting down there, I'll say. Grandpa's here. We got Second Tim, 32, Moltu, Ron Beal, LJ, Drops by J, lots of J's, Dr. J, and Q, and Mr. Ivo, and fucking By the Dip. Very, very appropriate name for today's video, actually. Anyways, yeah, I was just taking a moment to look at traditional markets here. It really does seem to me that traditional markets, looking at the major indices like SPY futures and NASDAQ futures are playing catch up here to Bitcoin. But Bitcoin, it has been the first mover, actually. I mean, in fact, Bitcoin obviously getting basically around its prior all-time highs. In SPY thus far, getting close, but certainly a lot further away. I mean, kind of expect it closer to or at least above $6,000 with the way that Bitcoin's looking right now. But, looking at traditional markets, I do think that there's a pretty obvious and interesting way to be looking at it to essentially understand, is this safe or not? And, we've been looking at this as very likely to bounce from those April lows back up to this region. But now you're at kind of like the scary region, I would say, because if it is going to have a rejection, you probably expect it somewhere around here. I think NASDAQ's maybe a little bit more of an obvious chart, actually. Anywhere below about $21,500 is still kind of a potential trappy area. But ultimately, as long as, especially both of these guys are above their 200 moving averages, hopium is alive. And that also does mean coming back down below. And that hopium goes by the wayside for at least a while. I'd imagine you probably see an interplay with Bitcoin as well. But, at that point, this would look like, your traditional market trap where it trades back above the 200 simple for just a moment and then comes crashing back down. Doesn't make a new low. I still don't think that traditional market's going to be making new lows from here, but I mean, fuck, for right now, this still looks pretty damn good, as does Bitcoin on the higher term time frame. So it's hard to be, a higher term time frame bear. But this would be my first sort of line in the sand for saying, hey, below about 20,350, let's say, on a daily closing basis. Well, at that point, I think have to be defensive again, and that probably correlates well to Bitcoin as well. And I do think that this is just a little bit more of an obvious chart in the short term. Like I said, Bitcoin obviously acting a lot stronger comparatively in the short term than traditional market major indices like NASDAQ or SPY. But just something to keep an eye on. Because as long as it's above, okay. When it comes back down below, bad. And I'm sure that the pattern bros out there in the world are calling this an inverted herp and derp. And to be fair, it is an inverted herp and derp. That's the bullish view of this. And like I said, higher term timeframes do support that. I mean, monthly looks pretty damn strong right here, especially with some building bullish hidden bullish divergence, I should say. So that that very easily could have been it. Like I said, and like I've been saying since early April, if you're a long-term investor, I like it. If you're a short-term investor, obviously it's a bit of a different story. But if you're thinking, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, I do think that buys in these regions right here probably going to be looking pretty damn good just a few years out at least. I mean, not at least, but at worst. So we shall see. What's up, Ben's chair? He misses Elsa. I miss Elsa as well. Or no, it's Miss Elsa. Or is it Mrs. Elsa? Who the fuck knows, man? That's like the new who's on first, what's on second. Today is one of those days where actually I'm very interested to be looking at, again, these shit coins. So I'm actually quite excited for today's stream because what I expect to see if the market is indeed good is that shit coins will be looking quite powerful, in good positions. I'll just kind of go down some of the usual suspects here to kind of start this one off, and then we'll get into some Bitcoin analysis. I do want to give some more time for people to join it in. And fuck, I need to update on this, man. I need to update on this. It's on the top of my mind. I've been binge watching this show on Netflix called Demon Slayer. It's the best. It's the best fucking show. It really is. Like, I never thought I would like something like anime, but holy shit, it is so fucking good. It's really that good. It really is. Elsa says, I only watch because the girls have huge jugs. Yes, and they're also demons, so it's both of my fantasies in one. It's great. I just fucking love it. And I especially love like the fangs that they grow. That's very sexy, very, very appealing. Anyways, yeah, I've gotten so carried away with that show. I didn't even realize how much I've watched of it, but I think I started watching like last week, and I've already gone through almost all 3 seasons. I only have like 5 or 6 more episodes left. I don't know what I'm gonna do afterwards. Who knows? Anyways, yeah, like I said, I'll take a quick look at some of my shit coins on these, on the list here, and then we'll go through Bitcoin, of course, as well. But Deep, this is one of those SUI shit coins, I believe. And you could easily read this as just a consolidation at the high. So not really an issue just yet, especially as long as you're above that 15.5 cent region. Doggy coin, what do we have here? Still below the 200 simple and getting rejected from there. Not the best signal overall. Do you think it gets another try around that region? But, this thing, I mean, I'd like to see it at least get to 30 cents, 30 to 32 cents at some point. But we shall see. Ethereum, same business over here, getting rejected by both our major moving averages, long-term moving averages, the 377 and the 200 simple. I have a hard time not seeing it at least get a little bit closer to that 200 simple at 2,700. So that is why I do think that a lot of these things at least have one more try to the upside. But not the best to be getting, stuck in a region like this, especially on extreme volatility and with momentum also starting to signal that a cool-off period is probably not so far away. But can it break through actually before that? That's a real question. I kind of lean towards no, although I do think you got a test around there. Anyways, moving down, we got, where are my other shit coins? I got my porn shit coin. I'm very happy about that one, but it's looking pretty damn bad. Where are the other big ones? Yeah, we got Solana over here. Again, same thing, right below that 200 simple. It hit our 180 target nearly to the cent. Actually, it was $1.36 above, so Krown is wrong. Fuck him. I hope he dies, as usual. But yeah, again, I it's hard for me not to see something like this at least trying a little bit closer to $200 now, but it does seem to be in a short-term corrective period at minimum. Does it trade a little bit further south first? Overall, it's a range. I mean, I don't think it's going to break out nor break down in the next few days here, at least. What else we got? XRP, $2.50. I still think this one hits 170. It got really close yesterday, 265. Is that close enough? It might, honestly, might be. I mean, I do. This is what makes it hard. These things are getting rejected in the places you don't want to see them getting rejected at. But one day of downside price action does not create a rejection. Obviously this needs to be really interpreted over several days, if not, in some cases weeks. Anyways, moving on from there, what other sort of major shitcoins do we got over here? Where's my SUI shitcoin? Did I get rid of that? I must have. Oh, no. It's right here. Yeah. This one also, among the better ones, did trade above $4. But what do we have on the daily? Not super concerning here. Yeah, you got some bearish divergence. Yeah, it probably trades a little bit sideways and down, but I wouldn't necessarily call this bearish just yet. So, most things at major resistances. And as we all know, the best strategy is to, as always, buy at resistance and sell at support. That is how you make money. That is the high probability trade. As always, just assume that there's always going to be a breakout or breakdown, because statistics show that breakouts or breakdowns only happen, less than 30% of the time. So we should definitely always be betting on exactly that. Bless you, sir. But hold on, we're in a very important monologue right now. Can't be having fucking sneezes going on in the background. I don't care about your damn allergies, okay? Stop fucking interrupting me. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And honestly, you should probably stop interrupting, for real. Link, yeah, let's go look at Link. I like looking at these old shitcoins just to see where are they at? Yeah, another one. Almost all of them are kind of in the same position, right? Just below that 200 simple. I don't call these rejections just yet, but if we fast forward like 5-6 days from now and it's still below there, and like decently below there, then I'd say, yeah, that's shaping up to be an actual rejection. Got a real problem now. Maybe not a real problem, but at least some downside price action. Krown is trend raging. That's right. I'm trend raging. Danny Boy says, do you trade every day? I actually don't even trade at all anymore because I am just using my bot to trade. We do have the quantum wave bands over here, which is, it finally took a fucking loss. It had 6 wins in a row, just took a loss yesterday. Decent loss right here, but a loss nonetheless. Other than that, had a pretty damn good run as you would expect. This is the real environment where it really does shine, as a scalping strategy, but no strategy is perfect, of course. This one having, what is it? Just above a 68% strike rate to close a profitable trade. Here are your results over the past couple of years now, or two or 3 years now. So overall, just for the newcomers who have gotten into the quantum wave bands, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. We're in it for the long term. And if you just joined right before this last losing trade, there you go. There is your initiation. If you joined before that, then I think you got a little bit of a false idea of what's going to happen. Not to say that this is not well done, but it's just nothing's going to be perfect, of course. Anyways, as far as my trading goes, yeah, I do it all automated now. I only run one strategy at this point. I've actually sized down my own trading significantly over the past year, or really over the past couple of years, to the point where I'm really starting to switch into more of a long-term investor. It just makes a little more sense for me at this stage, and that's what I've been focusing on. So that's why you probably also heard me take on a little bit more of a higher term time frame look on most things, because that's actually just what I'm more interested in at this point. Although lower term time frames are still fun to look at. It's just I'm not into those. I feel like I'm moving past those days of being stuck on the lower term time frames, and especially manually trading. We got rid of that shit back in late 2022 at this point. So it's just been evolving from there. In fact, I really start to look around the market now, and I really start to think like people who are trading timeframes under a 1 hour, especially in cryptocurrency land, good fucking luck. Good fucking luck with the fees and everything, because most people don't have the fee tier that is required to make that realistically profitable over a long period of time. Just fucking good luck trading a 15-minute when you have normal fees on most crypto exchanges, which is 0.06% per contract. It's too much. It eats into your profits too much. You might be trading for, $100-$200 profit on Bitcoin. And in terms of Bitcoin price, not in terms of your actual P&L. But, with those sort of fees, you're going to, you're going to give up like 50 to 80 or $90 on that? And that's if you win the trade. If you lose the trade, then you add on another fucking 50 or $90 onto your losing fucking trade. It's just I'm starting to get like super skeptical of these people, especially the ones who are like, showing off on crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube. I've actually recently been addicted to watching these YouTube channels where they they put the spotlight on these guys, especially the Forex guys. The Forex guys are the funniest. And I'm just watching them like, first off, okay, you're 21, you're 22, you're less than 25 at least. So what kind of real experience do you actually have? Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot, probably not. But I watched this guy yesterday who was flexing, going in, riding a helicopter to work because, it's busy on the streets. And I think he was like taking pictures with a private jet and shit like that. And then he shows his account size and it's 50,000. And I'm like, you're generating the income required for these activities off of $50,000. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. I believe you. I believe it. I totally believe it. Degenerate Speculator says, stop being a poos and move back to the States. Also, what is HBAR looking like? Only one question, sir. So that you wasted it on. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. We'll get to that later. We'll save the shitcoin stuff for later. I do want to get through Bitcoin. I need to make sure that I got all my notes steadily done over here. I should also let everyone know before we do get into this one, because I actually forgot yesterday, stuff like the quantum wave band, stuff like the quant prime, the price action pivots, and caretaker's full indicator suite. You can try all of these for free for 7 days. We've set it up now directly through Teachable, so there no code required or anything like this. You can try it out for 7 days. I think most people, or hopefully you would know, within about 7 days if it's going to be relevant to you or not. And I do want to reiterate that the quant prime service particularly is really designed for much more sophisticated and experienced type person. If you are not that person, but you want like sort of a similar idea of automated trading or just, an automated strategy or something like this, it would be the quantum wave bands. Check that one out. It's designed, to be more accessible, let's say. Anyways, let's make sure, or I should make sure, you can do whatever the hell you want, but I should make sure that I got my notes all ordered over here. I have like serious OCD with this, so let me just make sure. Okay, yes, okay, we got that one. Let's put this one over here. Okay, make sure it flows nice and well. Then we have, where's my Mac derp chart? There we go. My McDonald's, there we go. Okay, then yes, this one right here. Let's start off on this angle as well. Okay, beautiful. And where's my tether derp? Oh yeah, I need an extra chart for that one. All right, well, fair enough. I think we can run with that anyways. Oh yeah. And then where's my HPDR? Is it right here? It is right here. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. Happy about that. All right. All right. I'll take a few more sips of this water and then we'll get to the actual Bitcoin's analysis of the day. By the way, before I get into it, I want to ask one just quick question to the community here. I was thinking of starting a new playlist on this channel, similar to the weekly Q&A session, but instead of being a weekly Q&A, it would be like test my strategy. So the idea would be whatever the hell strategy you might be thinking of or you might have, you can send it to me and then I will literally go through and test it. And perhaps even if it works, perhaps I can find some ways to maybe optimize it a little more, or perhaps if it doesn't work, I can give some points of criticism in ways to improve. Sometimes, I mean, that's just not going to be possible though, of course, because like some strategies are just so fucking retarded that they're never going to work ever, or at least over a long period of time. I mean, any strategy has a non-zero probability of winning, on a singular trade basis, of course, but it might be a very, very low probability, of course. Anyways, all right, sweet. I am just talking shit now. I apologize about that, but we'll get to the actual recording now. So here we go. Bitcoin just had its first $5,000 pullback, and the question of the day is, are dip buyers here going to be rewarded with massive riches to go to crypto heaven? Well, let's start it off first with a lower term time frame look on Bitcoin. In yesterday's video, we were biased towards a short-term pullback, somewhere down around about $100,000. We did see that pullback in for what was me, an overnight session. For you in the Western Hemisphere, it's probably just a regular day. Anyways, on the 4-hour time frame here, I do think that Bitcoin is going to attempt for a bit of a bounce. I mean, it already is bouncing, to be fair. It's already moved up about a couple $1,000 from the $100,500 lows to just over 103 after that. So having a short-term time frame bounce right here, we do see that the 4-hour RSI is going to have a very slight, but it is present amount of bullish divergence between this low and this low, just these last couple attempts right here. So does Bitcoin try an intraday bounce? Perhaps yes. I think that's a little bit more likely in the short term. If it does, anywhere around 103 to 104.5 is fair game. Doesn't really do anything for Bitcoin either which way. And when I go down to the hourly, I might even actually adjust that, because the hourly has, yes, it did have bullish divergence, but now it has hidden bearish divergence on the other side. So I do think you get another short-term swing to the downside here, but I don't think it's going to make new lows just yet, if it's going to make new lows at all. And when we do look at the hourly price action pivots, I think that this is actually extremely accurate in this case with its range call. 103, 100 to the upside versus 101, 500 to the downside. I don't think that you're going to necessarily break this range without maybe trying a little bit more on this bounce first. But of course, in the short term, does it come back down to the lower end of that range? Sure. I mean, I don't think that these are like super interesting looks, compared to the higher term timeframes for right now. So I just want to say, hey, this is not the stuff that I'd really be standing like super strongly behind. Of course, when we go over here to our stochastic momentum oscillators for those shorter term timeframes, they are also going to be aligning for at least a bit of a bounce relatively soon. The 4-hour time frame will turn up here if Bitcoin can close above 102,600 on the next 4-hour closure, which is in 1 hour and 29 minutes and 50 seconds and counting. But yeah, overall, very, very short-term range. Bitcoin probably tries, one more bounce to the top side of this range. But ultimately now, as long as Bitcoin is below the 4-hour price action pivot, which has switched to the high of yesterday at 105,750, 105,700, I am more biased towards this pullback trying a little bit more to the downside. But I want to be very, very clear with what I'm stating here. As we'll go over later, the very high term timeframes for Bitcoin, they're actually not bearish. The medium / higher term timeframes for Bitcoin, they are going to be looking corrective. So let's get into it now as far as downside areas of interest. So in yesterday's video, we brought up this meta signal setup. This was the 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour time frame did fire off a short setup at 100, a little bit above $104,000 for Bitcoin. Obviously, target number one's already been hit and actually exceeded quite a fair bit. That does have an extremely high probability, or in my opinion, extremely high probability at just over 79.5% probability to be hit, and that was at 102,750. Target number two would be at 99,700. So I do think that we probably see somewhere around there. That does have a 37.5% probability to be hit. Of course, target number three is significantly less than that, both in terms of price and probability. That closer to 96,300 in terms of price, and in terms of probability, just under 20.5% strike rate. So again, not impossible. 20.5% is not 100% or 0%. It's just 20.5%. So this is not like a death sentence or anything like this. And even if Bitcoin did come down around there, I would honestly be looking at that as an opportunity, at least in the short term, for a decent bounce at minimum. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into some of the other somewhat like the lower end of the higher term timeframes as I've been referring to them. And I want to acknowledge again that the daily MACD does have bearish divergence here on the on the histogram, and that has been building for a little bit of time between the highs that we saw in late April around the 25th and the highs that we're seeing right here around basically Bitcoin's prior all-time high. So looking for a pullback from a region like this, it's not like, I don't think this is anything like super crazy. Obviously, some YouTube commenters have much different ideas on that. I don't know, maybe I'm like talking against their hopes and dreams, who knows? But ultimately, Bitcoin can afford a pullback here and still be within an uptrend. Keep in mind, your last daily low was all the way down at $93,500. So if you're following the trend is still your friend. Even if Bitcoin came down to like 96 or 98,000 bucks, that would still be a higher low. So it can afford something like that. That's not a problem. It's not like a death sentence. It's not saying that it's going to zero or anything like this. So relax, fucking relax. I say this because I've seen too many comments at this point. I really have. Anyways, yes. So you got that on the daily MACD. Also over here on the stochastic oscillator, the higher term timeframes are already starting to turn. We can see the 12-hour time frame is turning back down. It's actually not below the critical zone just yet, but you can see that it will be having downside momentum as long as Bitcoin is below 105,300. So I do like basically yesterday's high as a pivot. As long as Bitcoin's below there, yeah, correction probably drags a little bit further south. Daily time frame also going to be coming down as it did fail its pivot from yesterday's video at 104,500. It's a new momentum pivot. So as long as Bitcoin's below there, you got bearish divergence on the daily stochastic oscillator plus also coming down as well. And if we go to the 2-day time frame, this one is also freshly crossing the downside based off of yesterday's closure. The new pivot is 103,200. The 3-day time frame, which also closed last night, is also downside angle now as long as Bitcoin's below 103 and change, which I mean it's just a little bit below right now. So the daily, 2-day, and 3-day are all kind of working in the same direction now. Now, higher term timeframes above these show a different look. So again, I would say that allows for a daily correction, but the other higher term timeframes, like the weekly, biweekly, monthly, quarterly, these still favor, more long-term upside, I would say, at this point. But keep in mind that the 5-day time frame here is now starting to really get into critical territory. Of course, it's going to continue to remain angled to the upside, at least on this next closure at 87,000 bucks. But I imagine this pivot is going to massively shift upon the next, closure in a couple days. So I think that's Friday. No, that would be Thursday. Yeah, Thursday's closure. So we'll see. But like I said, other higher term timeframes like the 10-day, like the bi-weekly, like the monthly, all of these things are in a position of power, especially as long as Bitcoin is very specifically above $100,000. That's a major number, particularly for the monthly here. If Bitcoin can close the monthly above there, you're going to hear me say, yeah, 120 is the next logical target. And sorry, it's not just logical, but it's like actionable at that point. Anyways, moving on from there, I did want to also acknowledge the other look that we were looking at from yesterday's video, which was the daily HPDR. And of course, speaking about areas of interest for downside targets, I'd be looking anywhere around the median. Now, the median will shift up on each and every passing daily closure. If you recall from yesterday's video, it was like 95 or 96,000 bucks. Now it is 98,000 bucks. I imagine it probably shifts up closer to like 98 or 99 relatively soon. And this is going to be based off of what is essentially a mean reversion move. So you got daily price closing well above the daily historical returns, the 61.8 level, which was yesterday. And now we're seeing volatility start to contract here. So we would expect a return somewhere back down around the median at some point. Again, there's no time component on this. So the longer that it takes, the naturally more and more it'll get lifted up and maybe even meet current price action. But in the meantime, as long as Bitcoin is still above it, and as long as we continue to see volatility collapse here, well, that would imply this is going to be a general area of interest. So right now, like I said, it's just below 98,000 bucks. It will move up with each and every passing day, but that just implies that the longer that Bitcoin holds sideways here, the better. If we do see these things start to play out before then, well, I guess less better for the BULAs of the world. Of course, daily HPDRO, which represents directional volatility, it actually has divergence here and is turning down as well. So I do think that we're entering into, another one of these sideways corrective periods at best, and maybe even some bear hopium at worst. But that's still very, 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 very far away, at least for right now. Keep in mind that one of the major things that we've been following, although I don't have it up on my charts right now, is that 5-day 5 EMA strategy using the Quant Prime service to back test it. Now, I don't actually have it up on my screen right here. Maybe I should bring it up, but I do want to acknowledge that this essentially does imply that as long as Bitcoin is above that red moving average, still 109 to 110, on this run is more likely than not. But if Bitcoin comes back down below this one, which currently is at 98,000 bucks and closes below there, that would be my first major indication that, hey, that trade obviously gets closed. It'll still be a profitable trade, to be fair. I mean, that one opened up at 83,600, so it's like, well over 10. It's actually closer to 15,000 bucks, so not bad. But that would probably indicate to me that something new is starting to emerge, and be like the first major warning signal that I'd really consider as okay, this is going to start to switch around yet again. Anyways, I also want to acknowledge one last thing before we move on to the old shitcoin request for the day. And that is, if I can bring it up here, where is my IBIT? Yes, there's my IBIT. I do want to acknowledge that IBIT did close one mega massive bearish engulfing dildo on yesterday's, on yesterday's daily. So, this one to me does signal that, we probably do trade a little bit further south, maybe fill this gap over here. Hopefully not this gap over there, but again, Bitcoin can afford a little bit of downside here and still remain with its overall uptrend. So I wouldn't be switching around to like full on bear just yet. Although I do think that this can take a little bit more time to last. Now, I want to put one last ribbon on this, on this analysis. And it is very simply this. Well, I guess we kind of spoke about it earlier, but look, if Bitcoin does reclaim this price action pivot here from yesterday's high, it's 110, maybe more. I'd be looking for that 5-day to play out. But until then, this looks like this looks like a beginning of another sideways consolidation at least. Anyways, I think I'll leave things on that note. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time. Lovely. Okay, we'll see if I upload that one later. Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not, but when things are slow, it doesn't really seem worth it. Anyways, let me now get to the super chats over here. I can see that we already got actually quite a fair bit, so I'll do my best to get through these in the proper amount of time, because I am limited in time today for, I don't know, about like another 40 or 50 minutes. Anyway, Steven Shigman, as always, is first. He's looking at Doggy Derp. Let's look at Doggy Derp over here. So for a while, and I thought I was going crazy, but for the past month and a half, I was saying that Doggy Derp is going to get to at least a quarter. It has gotten to a quarter. Finally, fucking finally. I thought I was losing my mind there for a bit. Do I think it can go for more? Look, when I bring up the monthly here, if it can just hold above about 21 to 22 cents, kind of where it's at right now by end of month, I do think that this run will extend north of 30 cents, like a little bit north of 30 cents. But again, that's going to require, another almost 3 weeks of price action to really confirm. So it's not like super helpful right now, but it is in there, to be fair. And you would have hidden bullish bullish evidence. Sorry, actually would not have hidden bullish evidence on the monthly RSI. I take that back. There is not. What other sort of things can I see on this one? Daily time frame, as we acknowledged earlier, still living below that 200 simple. We've already seen extremes on volatility. So, just like Bitcoin, I think you spend some time going sideways here. Going sideways within the short-term range can easily, amount to maybe one more test of that 200 simple, but I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for this to cool off before you get a real potential to actually break above this sort of region. And at that point, like I said, 32 cents, somewhere around there makes sense to me. Although that's a little bit too redundant. So hopefully that made sense as well, which also rhymes with sense. Sense, sense, and sense. Holy shit, my brain is breaking and it's not fucking good. Need some extra water for today. Anyways, Do Kwon, he's posting from jail with a ledger up his Angus. House coin, daily and weekly. All right, house coin. This is going to be good. This is definitely legit. Looks great, man. Look, this is a very, very, very new shitcoin. It has been around for, I think, less than 2 months. It was born on the 31st of March. So yeah, it has a very short shitcoin lifespan, but for that, you see kind of like the traditional shitcoin chart of Destiny here, where it gets this mega massive move to the upside. I'm imagining this is probably, oh my God, 1,400% move to the upside. Crazy, amazing. This is the next house. Like, just buy this. It's better than a house. And then you come crashing down after that. And this really does look like a bull trap to me at 8.5 cents. But it's not fully confirmed as like a cycle ending bull trap, at least in my opinion, or maybe not a cycle ending because it's a little bit too early to be saying something like that. But a current hopium trend ending signal until you come back down below this price action pivot here, 4 cents basically to the dot, below there, especially on a daily closing basis. Look for this whole rally to be unraveled. Again, this is regular scale right here, but I mean, that could easily amount to, another 70% move to the downside if it does break this region. So just be cognizant of that. Until then, the hopium would be that it's going to hold this range. It's going to bounce off the lower end of it. It's going to trade sideways for a while and then put in another mega massive rally. I think that's a little bit less likely personally, but hey, as long as you're above here, the hopium for that scenario is alive. So fair enough. Anyways, Elsa has also posted me a news from the Finnish news site, which is characters in movies and TV series live as if they've never heard of the climate crisis. Oh God. Why? In movies and TV series, people still often shop and travel without caring about the environment. It feels strange. Like, this is the fucking conditioning that Finns are given each and every day. I'm not joking. I'll show it to you right here. This is it. This is a news headline in Finland, and this is one of many. This is one of many. Like, they really are like that. It's actually insane. Every fucking news story is about bad for the environment. Don't eat meat. Don't use plastic bags. Don't travel. Definitely don't go to America because Trump is bad. What else? What else do we have? I don't know. There's an infinite amount of them. Basically, Finns are like the OG degrowthers. I guess they just want to be like that. Elsa, are you looking forward to winning? Finns would never say that. That Trump speech where he's like, we're going to win and we're going to win so much that you'll be like, Mr. Trump, please stop winning. It's too much. And I'll say, no, it's not enough. We must win more. Finnish president would never say that, ever. Not in a million years. Guys, we've been losing for a while. We need to lose more because the environment needs us to lose.
We like being Europe for. Deal with it.
Base 42. I actually do like the Finnish president, by the way. He's pretty cool. Base 4267 says PG stock daily weekly. Sure. PG stocks. Jeez, I literally just read it. Yeah, I'm also redacted as well. Looks like the LARP lines are, I don't know when the fuck I looked at this last. Must have been like a few months ago, but I think that that's generally the trajectory right here. You're in a bounce phase. I think it's going to bounce more. You got many drives of bullish evidence coming off of this last low on the daily time frame. So I do think that this one does carry on a little bit further north, somewhere around like 163, let's say, to 165. But is this the beginning of a greater reversal? Nah, I have a rule that I just do not get bearish on on any higher term time frame when you're right around that 200 simple, which is the white moving average right here. So, maybe it does make another stab down around there, like 155, but until it actually fully and formally breaks it, I'd be looking at this as yet another low that is likely to try a little bit higher. Like I said, 163 to 165 region. If it really starts to hold above 165, then maybe you see this one extend back up towards this high at 170, but give it some time. If I am looking at the monthly, this really does look like it could be a reversal. You got significant drives of bearish divergence coming off of all of these highs, so it can make a really good case for it. But I do think that you bounce first, even if you're super bearish, maybe closer to 165, and then if you get rejected around 165, that's where I'd start to be concerned for a deeper, more nastier, more girthier pullback. Jan Shock says, hopefully I'm saying that right, man. I'm pronouncing it in like the Europore way, but if I'm pronouncing it in the American way, it's Jan Shock. You tell me which one's right. Render on the daily and weekly. Sure, man. Render, okay. Yeah, now we should get deep inside that shitcoin drawer. I want to see how deep we can go. I want to see the updated progress on this amazing project, bro. Yeah, another one that's getting stalled out right below its two major moving averages right here, the 200 simple and the 377 exponential. Just like Bitcoin, I do think you probably try another upside move. This one maybe like 540 to 5.5 ish region, but as long as you're being held below there, that is not the best sign, to be fair. See what a weekly looks like. Just like Bitcoin, the higher term timeframes are still fine. Like, I don't have any major issues with this. I do think that it's probably more likely to actually try higher overall. I'd say like 6.5 to 670-ish region. Long term, I'm not a humongous fan of this chart, obviously, but the monthly held right here. So this is, it should at least try a little bit higher. And then I'd want to come back to it after that. But yeah, anyways, as far as the daily goes, maybe we could offer up a point of severe issues, and that would be below the price action pivot here at basically $4, a little bit above $4. As long as you're above there, it is still higher lows, and I would favor the upside, which is why I do think, this one probably trades up into the sixes. But one thing before the next, and of course, if it does take out this region here, then yeah, send it back down to new lows maybe. As always, there needs to be some sort of an invalidation. Anyways, we got Parched next. He says, could you please look at AI? Oh, wait, what the fuck? What is a ticker, man? Just give me the fucking ticker. Okay, AINTI. Okay, hold on. Is it this? Antivirus. Okay, this is going to be good. All right, and we have just a chart that literally only goes down. Amazing, just fucking amazing. I always have this face when I look at these charts. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, man? Super, super legit. Demon Slayer is legit. I do agree with you on that. Yeah, here's the thing. A lot of these shitcoins are having some pretty epic bounces right now, but you can see on this one very, very, very obviously that while this bounce has been really impressive, again, don't get me wrong on this, it's been very, very impressive. It hasn't done anything for the overall trend. I do think you could trade up a little bit further north, maybe like 7.5 to 8 cents if the market does continue here, but have to be very, very skeptical on something like this. And if I'm looking at the lower term timeframes, I think that this one's more likely to come down to 5 cents even, or maybe even 4.5 cents, and probably just carry on with its long-term downtrend because that's what it knows how to do best. So yeah, man. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say. I'm never going to like a chart like this, of course, but I'm only going to be looking for the rallies to stall out somewhere. So this seems like a decent enough place, at least on the lower term timeframes. I would say anywhere below yesterday's low, and that's fully confirmed that this one has put in, the next swing high before getting ready to continue the overall trend. In this case, perhaps more downside if that does happen. Yeah. Oh, it was McAfee's wife's coin. Oh, dear God. Well, that explains that. Definitely legit. Yeah. Jesus, man. It's like, what are they going to think of next? All right. We got Degenerate Speculator next. Nice name, bro. Stop being a puss and move back to the States. Also, what's HBAR looking like? Same as the rest? I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. And by a while, I mean probably last Friday. And I forgot about it soon after that. The old falling pizza here has played out, or is playing out, I guess. At least this one's like a little bit above its 200 simple. I mean, yesterday it did close above. Today it's a little bit below. But where I need something obvious on this one. Let's see. I'm trying to find something super obvious here, and I don't have anything that's super obvious. Falling pizzas, just in general, by the way, are like terrible formations. Like they don't usually play out that well. Like they have a very, very low probability, but for what it's worth, it is viable, I guess, as long as you're above, especially like 20 cents. You're not very far away from 20 cents right now, so there's that. But, look, as long as it's above 20, yeah, that's what I'm going to go with on this one. Above 20 cents, Hopium remains alive. Below 20 cents on a daily closing basis, and I'd be looking for this one to come, I don't know, at least another like 10% down. Do we have any sort of obvious indications here? Not really. What about over here? Where's my other chart? Yeah, let's bring this one over here. And what was it called again? Oh yeah, H-bar. Whoops. Damn it. Jesus. Pressing all the fucking wrong thing. What did I just do now? Oh, God damn it. I fucking hate this shit. How do I get this thing off my goddamn screen? Oh, that is so annoying. Get the fuck out of there. All right, nice. Okay, there's the autistic rage coming back. You can tell that I've had a lack of sleep, and yes, it is literally right there. Okay, cool. Haderpa. I mean, higher term time frames are not bad here, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah, I really can't be bearish on the higher term timeframes yet. As long as this thing's above, again, about 20 cents on a daily closing basis, I look for this one to trade a bit sideways and then try another upside move. Let's say like 24 to 25 cents would be the next area of interest overall. It does have a higher low here on the monthly, so I'm not going to hate that. And it does have macro higher lows as well, although they are not that much higher, but it is there at least. So yeah, I'd be giving this one a chance to kind of level out here, consolidate, and then go up again. If it does fail below 20 cents, however, again, on a higher term time frame closing basis, I actually would be looking for it to revisit these lows, but not make new lows, actually. I don't think it's going to make new lows below the April lows, at least anytime soon. I think first you'd come back down to like 15 cents, bounce again, try another upside move, and then come back to it after that. See how strong the bounce is, I suppose. If the question is it looking like the rest? It's looking like a lot of the other ones, but it's not. It's actually not as bad as a lot of the other ones that we've seen so far, especially the one before this, the McAfee's wife coin. Oh God. Pizza says, "Good morning, sir. What's up, man? Could you check XRP? I can check it. It would also be helpful if you give me timeframes, man. Just because, I imagine that'd probably be more relevant to your interests, but fair enough. So XRP, we've been saying, is likely to go to 250 to 270 for a while now. It's gotten pretty much right in the middle of this red circle. So is that close enough? Interesting. Okay. I would say on this one, as long as you're above whatever this current 4-hour low is, like 242, I actually do think that this one has a chance, but if you lose this low, then I'd be looking for this one to come back down to like 230, at least something like this. But for right now, it continues to hold above that region, so got to give it the benefit of the doubt. Momentum remains to the upside as well, as long as it's above 245 on today's closure. 5 days is freshly up as well. So this, again, higher term timeframes, like most things, are not bad here. So if it does pull back, I think it'd only be like a short-term type thing. And so that would be where, I'd kind of have like the line in the sand for right now. Other than that, I'm looking for obvious things here. Yeah, the obvious thing is on the monthly. If it closes above 270, like it's gonna be really fucking good. You're gonna see new all-time highs soon after that, if that does happen. But one thing before the next, I mean, to be fair, that's still decently far away from where it's at right now. Another 10% move or so. Anyways, and we got a lot of time left until the end of the month, anyways. So perhaps not super worth talking about right now. Ram Power says, please look at Dog in Me. Is this also available on Pornhub, sir? I feel like there's an OnlyFans channel with this. Dog in Me, yes. We all have a little dog in us. Some people have bigger dogs than other dogs. Some people have big dogs than other people have. That doesn't make sense. Anyways, for what it's worth, I do like this. Like that this one generally has an uptrend here. It's kind of at the area that you'd be expecting a short-term rejection. To be fair, just at this whatever this ungodly number is right there, like 1/10 of a cent, I guess. So this theoretically would be a good place for a bit of a short-term pullback, and I'd kind of be treating it as such, actually, as long as you're basically above this last 4-hour high. And I know I totally know that that's not that helpful. It's like, yeah, it's not bullish as long as you're above the last the last dildo high. But I think that's the best way to be looking at this one, because if you do trade back above that high, this thing's going to go back to basically all-time highs, and I'd be more. I think it's more appropriate to be looking for a short-term pullback and consolidation a little bit lower first. If it came back down to like 6, what the fuck? Oh shit, that is. Wait, what? 3 zeros. Oh, okay. Yeah, 6 to 7/10 of a cent. I mean, that actually wouldn't be super problematic long term. It'd still be a higher term time frame, higher low. So. I'd be biased towards a bit of a pullback here and consolidation a little bit lower. But I actually would not really call this one like super mega massive bearish just yet or anything like this, because for what it's worth, which is typically a lot, the long-term trend remains the upside. And, almost every other shitcoin, especially meme coins, cannot say the same thing. So, yeah. King Sock says, my toilet coin Tau on the daily. Sure, man. My toilet coin. Yes. We need toilet paper on the blockchain as well. I don't know when I made this LARP line right here, but I basically think the same thing. I think that you're entering into a bit of a short-term corrective period, as long as you're above yesterday's high, which is 490, which I believe, that was like pretty damn close to 500, which was a target for us on this one, if I recall correctly. I think you're entering into, like most things, a sideways and down correction on the lower term timeframes. Does the next move bounce it? Yeah, I think the next move generally in the market is going to be a very short term bounce. Maybe this one pops back up to like 465 to 470-ish region. But again, as long as you're below that last price action pivot here, I'd be favoring, a deeper pullback, maybe to 420, because that's a great number, perhaps even all the way down to 390. But again, it's still going to be a higher low here, so it's not super problematic or anything like this, especially compared to most shitcoins. So yeah. Other than that, if this thing does trade back above yesterday's high, like I said, this thing's going to go like 600, maybe even more. I mean, at that point, it starts to look really fucking good. But one thing before the next, I don't want to get too carried away here, as always. Crypto Shard says, "Oh no, Mr. Bill, Tau versus PP." You want to look at Tau versus P. This is got to be. This has got to be the most unique request of the day, maybe in a very long time. Honestly, I would be favoring Tau over PP. I like this weekly higher low that's being put in here on this mega massive bullish engulfing dildo. So I don't know how much I trust this chart, to be honest, but I'd be favoring Tau over PP. I'll put it that way. Again, I don't know how much I trust that chart, though. It's not every day you see something like that, these pairs. Sean Nevins says, thoughts on Bitcoin dominance. Prior was Sean Nevins on here. I figured it out. Sean Nevins, aka Crypto. Actually, I can't even see your full name, but it does still say Sean Nevins, which is good, man. But I am glad that you specified. Yeah, we can go check out Bitcoin dominance just below 63%. I do think you're about to get a short-term bounce on Bitcoin dominance, maybe back up to like 64%. But this thing, I mean, this is a good place for a high. Problem is that I've said that many times on this way up, and just continues upwards and onwards. So, I'll say the same soundbite that I continue to say on Bitcoin dominance, which I think is the most accurate way of looking at it, which is what you're really looking for is whatever your favorite shitcoin is versus Bitcoin, not to look at Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance includes every last millionth shitcoin, which there are so many. So this naturally or theoretically, it is logical to expect it to just kind of float up over time because most shitcoins just trend towards zero. And there continues to be, an infinite amount added almost every day. So, if this goes up, doesn't necessarily mean that your altcoin will go down versus Bitcoin. Some of them have had some pretty impressive runs versus Bitcoin. But if I had to call it right now, I think you get a short-term bounce right here and then come back down to like 60%. But again, I don't think that this chart is as important as most people believe. So yeah, has it topped or not? I don't think it matters. I think what matters is whatever your favorite shitcoin is versus Bitcoin. That will always be the most, I guess important metric to define if it's alt season for your altcoin, because even if it's alt season, I mean most of them don't really get to participate beyond like a decent bounce usually, but not like a trendy move towards new all-time highs. That is certainly the exception to the rule when they do that. Very few. Bryce Pinko says, good morning, sir. Stay hydrated. Hell yeah, man. I'm going to stay hydrated right here with some good old Finnish aqua. Would you please analyze your YouTube views? I feel like it's been a while. Sure. Let me bring it up on my other screen first, and then I'll bring you over to the dashboard. I can't say that they have anything like super new or super interesting to be looking at, to be honest, but I'll bring you over here. If anything, my views have been trending down like pretty significantly recently. So let's see, this is the past 28 days, not very helpful to be looking at it from this angle, but maybe let's go the past 90 days. So the past 3 months. Again, it's a slight downtrend here, I suppose, but not much. I mean, very, very, very gradual. If we go back to the past year, we can see, again, a slight downtrend here since about November of 2024. I think that was kind of like peak. November and December of 2024 really seemed to me like peak excitement in this market, at least up until now, at least for the current times. And then if we go to the lifetime, then you're going to notice, I believe that the current views, it's actually quite comparable to what we saw back here in May of 2021. That's when views actually, when the market turns bearish is when people start to tune into this channel, to be honest. Like, it is what it is. I mean, again, I think like the dumbest, biggest bull is going to make way more money than I will in a bull market, just because, the more you press the green button, the better. But it's how much you keep, of course, at the end of the day. And that's when the bear market starts. So yeah, as of right now, if you're trying to make a comparison, which I don't think has worked out really honestly that well, it would be, I guess, back around May 2021. So that was when Bitcoin was coming off of that first major high at $60,000 and crashing down to about 30 or so, something like that. All right, let's see what else we got. Jonathan Gioia, hopefully I'm saying that properly, ma'am. Doggy Daily and long-term price. I mean, we already spoke about this one, so I think we're good there. I mean, long-term price targets, like, well, no, I don't have anything new to say about this one. What I can say is if it takes out last quarterly high, I mean, this thing's going to make new all-time highs very soon after that. But other than that, I don't have anything new to say about this that I didn't say earlier on this stream when we first looked at it. For Mr. Schickman, as he always asks. Let's see. Nim says, Cass and MPC. How about just one, sir? How about just one shitcoin at a time? Got a lot of people in limited amount of time, and I'm going to choose Caspa just because I think this one was like okay for a while. LARP line over here. I think this one has generally played out. I mean, you're back around the same region. Let's go to a weekly look. Again, difficult one here because this is the exact area you'd be expecting a rejection if it is going to be mega macro bearish. And I mean, so like this week is early, right? We still got another 5.5 days left of trading within this week. But if it closes something like this, I would say this is your next weekly swing high. You're going to see another swing down back below like 10 cents, probably 8.5 to 9 cents, which is a big move for this thing. Monthly look. Yeah, I'm a little bit too early to be judging this one, but if you can start to close above 11 and a quarter, if you can start to close, weeklies above 11 and a quarter. Sorry, No, that would only be appropriate for the monthly. Yeah, actually, I think I just have to leave it on this one. Okay, here's what we can say. Short term, I would actually confirm a rejection and a decent move to the downside only if you close a daily dildo below yesterday's low. If you can do that, should come back down, like I said, below about 10 cents. I would estimate somewhere in like the upper 9s to mid 9s, somewhere around here. But again, this would still be a higher low, so it's not a death sentence or anything like this, but it would be, I mean, perhaps an interesting pullback depending upon your time frames, which you didn't give. So I don't know where to go with this one on, but yeah. Anyways, does it try a short-term bounce here? Probably yes. Probably back around like 11.5 to maybe even 12 cents even, possible. Okay, Crypto RectRD says Sui pullback region, sir. Let's see, where is my Shui? I mean, you already hit the obvious pullback target, 380. See, like your prior high right here as well. I think you got to give it a chance to bounce here first, because this one has been, I think, the strongest of the new legitimate shitcoins, if that makes sense. Like it's a new shitcoin for this cycle. It is purportedly more legitimate than like your average meme coin. It would seem like. Again, I'm not a fundamental analyst, so I don't actually know, but that's what it seems to be postured as. So I'd give it a chance to bounce here, because this one I do expect to do better than most things in this market. Anyways, what I'd say about this one is actually similar to the last one. Look, as long as you're above yesterday's low on a daily closing basis, I'd give it a chance to bounce first, man. I think that this thing can bounce like back above 405 to 410 region. And if it trades back above yesterday's high, then this thing's going to go on a nice big old move towards $4.50. But if you do close below yesterday's low, that's where I say, okay, it's time to be looking for a decent pullback, probably somewhere around the 50% level, which is also the 21 EMA on the daily. So that would be about $3.50. Again, right now trading at about 4. So decent move, I would say, more than about a 15% move in this case, or somewhere around there. But again, that would be another higher low. So, this is not like super problematic just yet. And that'll also just be a reconnect with the weekly 5 EMA as well. So, I don't, if anything's going to pull through, this would actually be one of the ones at the top of the list. But one thing before the next, and as always, have to have those lines in the sand here. So basically yesterday's high and low are the major management points on this one. Above yesterday's high, 4.5, maybe even just goes to 5 from there. Below yesterday's low on a closing basis, expect a sideways and downside correction to emerge, and probably takes some time to really resolve itself. I personally would be more biased towards that short-term sideways and down. You do have a few drives of regular bearish divergence here on the daily time frame. So yeah, and again, it can easily afford a 10 to 15% pullback here. It'd still be a higher low. Anyways, let's see what else we got. Crypto RectRD, he's back again. He's looking at fart derp. Let's look at some fart derps over here. Man, this one, I don't even trade this one, but it fucking frustrates me because like, by all intents and purposes, if you're going off of TA, it should have, it really should have had deeper retracements than what we've seen already. But hey, at the end of the day, this thing seems to be the most blessed of the newest shitcoins and meme coins. Many drives of bearish divergence here. Again, if you close below basically Sunday's low, which is what, 127, something like this, I would be looking at least a move back down towards 115 or so. Again, that would just be another higher low, but goddamn, how many drives of bearish divergence can you get on a daily time frame before you actually reverse? Like, I am really inclined to say I do think it comes back down to the 55, which is around 95 cents to a buck. Yeah. Again, I know people are going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Because this one has just been the fucking honey badger that continues to go up, sideways and up. So maybe I'm the fool here, thinking that a pullback's more likely. But have to have whatever the hell you're going to be looking at and kind of stick with something. So in this case, I would say I'm biased towards this pullback getting a little bit faded. the current move getting a little bit faded, but again, it can afford a pullback easily to 115 or even 110 and still be a higher low. So I wouldn't be getting like full on mega massive macro bearish on it just yet. But look, if you start to close dailies below like 110, okay, then I would say, all right, I think it's finally inevitably reversing. For fuck's sake, just die. Sorry, I don't mean I don't mean any ill will towards anyone holding this or anything like that, but just as a person who's been watching this one, it's like, all right, at some point, we all know what's going to happen here, don't we? But has it reached that point just yet? Well, trend hasn't even switched around here, so can't really say that. As far as 4-hour price action pivots goes, basically yesterday's high, which is what, 148? Yeah, 148. If you do take out yesterday's high, I mean, this thing can just fucking fly, I guess. Maybe even $2, I suppose. Mr. K on YouTube says, can Super make a new all-time high, please, boss? Anything can make a new all-time high. It's just, is it likely? And for this one to make a new all-time high, it would need to go up only 500%. And it's not my personal target. I'll put it that way. Can it make a new high above like yesterday's high? Yeah. This one actually did not hit its 200 simple. I do think, at least it's going to get somewhere around there. And that's a little bit above $1. But does it pull back first, or does it just make a run for there? I think, like most things, it's setting up for a sideways and downside range. We've already kind of seen it trade a little bit sideways and down here on the 4-hour time frame. If it comes down a little bit more towards 70 cents, that's fine. Again, that's still a higher low. The issues arise when you start to come back down below the 8th of May's low, which is 65 cents. That's where this one starts to look like another failed rally. But until then, you still got higher lows, and generally I'm going to be biased towards a region like this. In fact, personally, I think that it will go higher at some point in the cycle, like 130-ish region, to maybe even like 1.5. But what's really throwing me off on this one is that the trend is seemingly not your friend. I mean, because you got high, you got low, you got higher high, but you got a lower low. So you're kind of in limbo right now, because you do have a prior uptrend, but you just got your first lower low. So is this a bull trap, or is this a bear trap? I mean, because when you get your first lower low, you kind of have to be on the lookout for a lower high. And even if it does get up to my target of like 130 or even 150, that's still another lower high. So that's kind of the issue with something like this. But I could see, I could see it like turning around and putting in like a pretty mega rally, but it's going to require this month, honestly, to close like at least here or higher, at least above 80 cents. And then I think that you got a potential for that over the next like 2 to 3 months. Again, not for like a new all-time high above $5, but maybe for a run up around this region here, which is still a really big move, and really powerful move. So hopefully that was helpful, ma'am. GS2234 says, hello, sir. What's up, ma'am? Could you please have a check out Aether, symbol ATH? Oh, perfect ticker. All-time high ticker. Where do we go to for this one? Maybe MexDerp. Excuse me. Anyways, terrible, man. Absolutely terrible. Only goes down. Maybe there's a chart with more history. Maybe QDerp. Nope, same shit. Yeah, only goes down. Still below the 200 simple. Didn't even get to the 200 simple, which is very concerning. Alongside momentum oscillators already getting kind of spent here. So I would say, look, I wouldn't put it past this one to maybe make one more strike up towards 5 cents or so, but don't fight. I wouldn't want to fight the trend on this one. I'll put it that way. And if I had to call the short-term timeframes, I think you're going to pull back from here. I think you're going to pull back to, a little bit below 4 cents at least, somewhere between 3.5 to, let's say, 3.9. Again, that can take some time to play out, but you got momentum also just turning down against you all the way up to, I think, like a 12 and 14 hour probably. Yeah, you do. And you're getting kind of stuck at one of the major moving averages, and you can effectively call this a test to the 200 simple as well, to be fair, on the daily, alongside extreme volatility. So, I'd be betting on some sideways and down. Maybe it spikes up one more time between there, but I don't think it's going to be like a trending spike move to, 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents without, further consolidation. And if this thing even just trades below yesterday's low, I mean, kiss it goodbye for a while, I'd say, because probably going to be spending some time well below 4 cents. I would even think like below 3.5 cents. But of course, one thing before the next is always, that's why the lines in the sand have to be marked out in advance. But, you know, I'm never going to call a reversal on something that looks like this. It doesn't mean that it can't reverse. It's just, you know, probabilistically speaking, it's going to be less likely. All right. Lots of super chats today, actually. Anderson7 says, Cardano hourly and daily to finish out the week, please, sir. I'm looking to add a little bit more before we party. All right. I might be walking into a trap here. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what we're going to see? Hey, there is something genuinely different about Cardano than most shitcoins that we've seen today. It is above the 200 simple still. But if I had to call it right here, if you do close back below it again, let's just say anywhere below 80 cents on today's daily closure, I do think that you pull back a little bit further, maybe let's say 73 to 74 cents. Again, that's still a higher low on a daily time frame, because your last higher low was 64 cents. So you got a lot of room there to work with, but that would imply, you know, a short-term pullback, let's say around like 75 cents. Which I don't know if that's relevant to you or not. I mean, that's a decent percentage move for a short-term time frame, but maybe that's not exactly what you're looking for. If you're just talking about like this week's of price action, you know, you've already pulled back a decent amount. Maybe it goes down to 75, maybe it doesn't, but higher term time frames actually is still okay on this. Or I shouldn't even say okay, they're actually good on this one. I do think that it will put in a move closer to $1, maybe even above $1 in the coming month or two. You know, this one does have higher lows and it does have higher macro lows as well. So, you know, it's not as shitty as 99% of other shit coins, to be fair. Yeah, that's what I'd say about that. Just maybe a short-term pullback here. Maybe comes down to like 73, 75 cents, but that's another higher low, to be fair. All right, Some G. Oh, fuck yeah, he's back. One of my favorite YouTube names of all time. Some G, Ass Lord. What's the other one? Gay Man? Was that him? I forget. These are like great YouTube names. I love it. Anyways, Tesla on the weekly. Sure. All right. Ass Lord, that was it. Ass Lord, yes. How could we forget Ass Lord? Wow, trading 320. I bought this one at 280. I think maybe a little bit below 280, but so I just want to say that I'm biased because I hold this one. I like it. Yeah, yesterday's daily dildo is a little bit weird looking here. Maybe it does come back down and correct to, you know, $300 even if it wants, that's fine. But overall, I think that the higher term time frames are starting to take off here. You know, you got the weekly, you got the bi-weekly, you got the monthly. I mean, April's low seems to be the next higher low. So you can see the price action pivot here is now starting to switch on the monthly from the April 2024 low to presumably the April 2025 low, just 1 year apart, actually. Kind of interesting how that works out. Anyways, higher term timeframes, you know, I do like on this one. Shit, I mean, even the quarterly is okay. Let's see what a 6 month looks like, just out of curiosity. Yeah, I don't know if this one's like moving to new all-time highs anytime soon, but anyways, what are we looking at on the shorter terms? Maybe let's go over here. Tesla Derp. Let's go to a daily. Yeah, I think it's overall okay. I think that this one's generally going to move higher. Does it pull back first to $300? I don't know, but either which way, again, this one looks like it wants to try higher. I think it'll get somewhere around like 350 to 370ish region. Again, this can take some time. I mean, we're looking at higher term timeframes here, but yeah, give it a chance. Anyways, last one from Mr. Crypto Shart. He says, double wiener bonk me in the boolah daily, please. I think that's a bonk request. Double-ended dildo my bunghole in the boolah daily, please. Sure, man. I think I understand exactly what you mean. Anyways, daily time frame here, consolidating right below the 200 simple. It's almost the same look as every other shitcoin we've seen. But at least, unlike most shitcoins, it does have higher macro cycle lows. Anyways, the problem with this one is that as long as you're below the 200 simple, like this is a really good place for consolidation and a try perhaps a little bit lower. But again, you have higher lows as long as you're above, what is this, 15,700, whatever the hell number that is. So I do think that you could easily pull back a little bit more towards 20,000, whatever the hell number that is. and bounce from there. If I go down to a 4-hour time frame, it looks like just about everything else, getting that short-term bounce that we spoke about might even carry on a little bit more. But I do think that you come down a little bit lower before it's all said and done. But again, you got higher lows, especially in this region right here. So I wouldn't get like bearish on it just yet. Quarterly, don't like it. Monthly, not terrible yet. Bi-monthly, also not terrible yet as well. So yeah, I think I'll leave that one on that note. If you can start to close above whatever this number is, 24,000, then I would say this thing's going to go on a pretty nice run. Let's say somewhere around like 30,000 to 35,000. Again, I don't necessarily know how many decimal places we are to the right at that point, but yeah. But if I had to call it here, yeah, I think that you spend some time basically between the 200 simple. You probably get one more test around there, and then I think that you do get a pullback. But pullback's got higher lows, so you got plenty of room there as well. Kellephant says Boeing stock, short-term perspective. I don't know, 4-hour. All right, symbol SBA, right? Yeah. Boeing. Where do they get? Oh, Boeing Airlines. That's probably why. I was wondering, like, why an A? I want to look at the higher term time frames first. I know you didn't ask about it, but I just want to see kind of where we're at in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, it's in one mega massive consolidation range here. Yeah, the monthly look is the one that shows it. You got something like this, and then you got these down here, obviously so you got rising bottoms, but also kind of, well, you got about same tops right here. It's not necessarily declining just yet. Anyways, this one having a really nice move already and actually about to take out the last price action pivot to the upside. So overall, I'd have to favor upside. But if you're just short term and you're on a 4-hour time frame, what are we looking at? I think it probably extends a little bit more, like just above 200. Let's say somewhere between 203 to maybe even as much as like 210. Probably plays out a bit of a pullback from there, but overall, this one on the higher term timeframes, I think is a little bit more obvious than the lower term timeframes. It's in a mega massive macro consolidation region, but very powerful bounce off the lows. I do think that this one will carry back on, a little bit closer to the top side of the range. If it gets to like 220 or 230, again, this can take a long time because I'm on a monthly now, certainly not short term as you're asking for. Actually, yes, because it's almost 10:30. Holy shit. Jonathan G says, PP Daily, does it pull back further? And I think most things pull back at least a little bit more. Yeah, it's on our red circle. I don't know when I made this chart, but that was some sort of a target that we had. Really good bounce right here, though, I will say. But yeah, as long as you're below yesterday's high, I think a lot of these things can afford a pullback. It's just, you got higher lows, as long as you're above like basically early May. So even if it pulled back down to like 10,000 or 11,000, it doesn't change anything for it. That's what makes these ones difficult. They're so fucking volatile and they can have these massive ranges where nothing really changes for the trend, but obviously that matters for your P&L. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, I think like most things, very, very, very short-term bounce, maybe it carries on a little bit more towards 14,000. And then I think that you do probably come down closer to, 10, 11, 12, or sorry, let's say like 11 to 12,000 at least, and spend some time going sideways. And if you do close below, let's say yesterday's low on a daily time frame, I think you can come down like a decent, or actually, yeah, about 11,000 would be kind of where I'm looking at. Again, that would still be a higher low. It's not like full on mega massive macro bearish confirmed just yet or anything like that. The monthly, I'm sure people are going to be calling herp and derp right here. I mean, it is there to be fair, but that would imply that you basically have to top out where you're at right now. So possible. And if that did happen, you'll know that it's happening if you see this thing back down below, especially like 10,000-ish, something like that. All right, cool. We'll get on to some of the comments over here as well. Let me see. Yeah, I did all of the super chats. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just read through some of these, see what we got. Pin what? I will pin your message. Okay. I'm going to replace the pinned message now. Let's see. On Twitter, we have News Nook. He says, sold half of my Ethereum to buy. Link target is 50. Oh, Jesus. That's it's quite high. I think that's new highs for Link if that were to happen, right? Let's see. You know what we should actually do? We should look at Link versus Ethereum. Yeah, I mean, you got a monthly high or low here, so at least this is certainly not the worst of the shit. I mean, it's far and away from the worst of the shitcoin charts, to be fair. But let's see. I think this would maybe be more appropriate for you just because you're basically making a comparison between Link and Ethereum. And I'd have to actually say, I think Link is more likely to lose. You're at the top side of the range here. Yeah. At least some short-term down, but yeah, it's hard to be bullish on Link versus Ethereum as long as you're below this January of last year high, which is exactly where you got rejected so far. So that's 84.50 or so. Anyways, okay. Amin Hafez says Gala. Oh God. I can't promise I got anything nice to say about this, ma'am. Please do not take it personally. And here is the real chart. Oh, amazing. Another chart that just goes straight fucking down. Unbelievable. It's only 97.5% down, guys. Surely we're going to go back to new all-time highs. It's a bull market. I read it on Crypto Derp. I don't know, man. You don't even need to tell you that this is absolute fucking garbage. It's not even anywhere near its 200 simple, whereas even some of the most shitty of shitty coins that we've seen today are around their 200 simple on the daily. Look, if it does get another move to the upside, I think you're capped somewhere around like 2.5 to 3 cents. You know, all rallies fail over a long enough period of time on this thing. So it's like, if you're holding something like this, you're basically playing Russian roulette, where you're hoping for one of these quick one-off moves, but then you got to get out fast. Because I mean, none of these survive. They're all. This is what you can expect for 99% of shitcoins out there in the world. Long term, absolutely nothing bullish about this thing at all whatsoever. But you know, can it get a bounce to 3 cents first? Maybe. It's possible. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but that's the thing, is like these absolute fucking dog shit coins go down and down and down and down and down, and then you get into a region like this, and then it does bounce to, let's say, 3 cents, and you're like, fuck you, Krown, you were wrong. I knew it. I'm gonna be rich, man. I'm gonna be rich. My $1 is gonna go to $100 million because I read on Crypto Herpity Derp that this thing is bullish and that hodlers will be rewarded and diamond hands is good, and I swear my Gala coins are really gonna change everything. They're going to change everything for forever. Well, it's going to change. Yeah, it's going to change your financial situation. Maybe not for forever, but for a long time, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, if it does get back around here, I mean, that would be great. But I wouldn't be. I'd be expecting the declining highs to continue. So at least not above whatever you got to December of last year. That's even if it continues at all. I mean, shit, it already looks pretty fucking weak here, to be honest. Yeah. But even in the end of a bull market, even the most dog shit of dog shit gets their own nice bounces. And I think that's kind of the portion of the cycle that we're in right now. Time shall tell. Time shall tell. We have more fun in quiet times, says Mr. Van Duysen. I mean, is this a quiet time or not? From like a social media perspective, yeah, it is more of a quiet time. But in terms of like market movements, I don't think it's quiet at all. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, Bitcoin just had a $5,000 move yesterday. Like, $5,000 move is. I remember when I came into this market in 2016 and 2017, and I saw this first $5,000 move in 2017. It was this dildo right here, Friday the 22nd of December, and Bitcoin went from 15,000 all the way down to 10,000. I was losing my mind that that's even like a possible thing that can happen, because it's just such a fucking gigantic move, like in just nominal terms. Now, obviously, this was a tremendous percentage move back then. That was, literally like a 30% move in one fucking daily dildo. This is obviously nowhere near a 30% move, but still, $5,000 is still $5,000 fucking dollars in terms of price action. It's really crazy, man. Did you? You saw it or someone?
I saw it.
Elsa saw a dream that Bitcoin went to $65,000. I think we need to stop her from dreaming. Dr. J says, "Is Trump ethical?" I don't know. I don't love everything that he does, but Yeah, this is a win. I don't want to get into fucking There's this one fucking dumb piece of shit that comments on every one of my videos something about Trump. I'm sorry, but I don't have the filter today. I really do apologize if I'm offending anyone, but I don't have the filter today that I usually do to be more diplomatic. But this dumb motherfucker comments on every one of my videos something about, oh, I bet you're not liking Trump now. And it's like, dude, you have a mental disorder. Like, you need to get help immediately. This is a channel that is focused on Bitcoin price action. Like, go take your political illness, your political mental illness somewhere far away from here. Please do it. Like, you are a real crazy person. Like, you're a real crazy person. Anyways, 200 people watching. Is there 200 people watching? On my screen, I see 700, but yeah, still pretty quiet either which way, man. All right. We already looked at Cardurpio. We can look at VeChain. I remember this one was like very popular many moons ago. Let's see what this one looks like. The Vet Chain. I remember this one in Walton Chain. Yeah, another one that's getting rejected, right? It's 200 simple. I think that you spent some time going sideways here. Next short-term move is probably to the upside, but does it make a new high on this rally? I mean, at least it has macro cycle higher lows. So, better than most. Better than 99% of shit, but yeah. Do I think it corrects more? I think most things are going to correct a little bit more. And the strong ones should be put in higher lows. So that could, this thing could come down a little bit below 3 cents. Let's say like 2.8 to 2.7-ish region, somewhere around there. Short-term bounce there. So, does it look like this? I think most things are going to look something like this. Boom, and then higher low. And then we get to find out if this rally is for real. At that point, you see Bitcoin well above yesterday's high at 105 or so. And then we all get to sing Kumbaya and hold hands and be rich as fuck, I guess. Is Trump the McAfee of this cycle? Has he been announcing his picks? I don't know, man. All right, we'll do a couple more, and then we shall shut it off for the day. Gutco says, "Sir, want to look at another shitcoin?" Oh, no problem, man. I love shitcoins, man. AVA. Okay. This one actually sounds new to me. Travala? No, I've heard this name before somewhere. I think maybe the YouTube scam bots were suggesting this one at some point. Yeah, this is your traditional shitcoin chart of death. Big move up, never again. Big move up, but always a lower high. The question is it going to do another one of those? At some point, it gets another big move up, but does it hold on those gains? I would say it's unlikely. Let's go to a weekly look here, just out of curiosity. I mean, basically, look, if it can trade back above that 200 simple, then you probably get another one of these pump dildos here. Okay, I'm not able to load this damn chart. Maybe gets a quick pump up to like 90 cents or a buck. But, until that happens, I'm just never going to bet on something like this because the long-term bet is always down. Yeah. All right. Groove Moves says BNB supposedly has institutional interest, so number go up. Well, I mean, I don't know if it has institutional interest, but you definitely have institutional manipulation by fucking Binance. Man, people were not around. Most people were not around when Binance first came out, and it was sketch as fuck. Just personal opinion. Anyways, as far as charts goes, it's actually one of the better shitcoin charts. In fact, it's among some of the best shitcoin charts, to be fair. Makes higher highs and higher lows each and every cycle, holds onto them by like a country mile as well. If anything, I'd say this thing actually looks pretty good, but, over the long term. But in the short term, does it come back down to like 625, 630-ish region? Sure, yeah. But again, that's still a higher low here, so it's not like super problematic just yet. Below about 600, that's where it has problems. Until then, could be okay here, I guess. Still even has higher lows in this more recent segment. Almost everything can't say the same. So that's very, very impressive. But yeah, a little bit of a short-term pullback maybe. But if anything's going to have another try to the upside, this one would be at the top of the list or very near the top of the list. I mean, shit, the second that this thing trades above 745, expect significantly new all-time highs. I mean, you got this mega massive consolidation right here. Basically a cup and handle. I mean, this thing would go, I would imagine, probably above, probably at least to like $1,000 or a little bit above $1,000, something like that. If that happens, Again, as far as shitcoins go, this one among the best charts for shitcoiners. All right. Mr. Crypto Clown World. I always miss your emoji, sir, or your emoticons. It's like your it's like your sign-off message. I love it, man. I love it. All right. Nab says, do you think we'll have alt season this cycle, or it's done? I mean, you're seeing it right now. Like, it's happening right now. Most alts have had some pretty epic bounces this past couple weeks. And I think that they could continue more as well, as long as Bitcoin plays game, and especially if Bitcoin makes new highs. I'd be expecting them to make another decent move as well. So I think that we're in the midst of it right now. It's just most alt seasons are they don't really act as what people expect anyways. Like, alt season is when your shitcoin rallies. And unfortunately, for prior cycle shitcoins especially, they will get their bounces, and they will get big bounces, yes, but they're very unlikely. 99% of them will not make new highs. I mean, that's just been the trend since as far as I've been in this market, almost 10 years now, which is like super crazy. All right, guys. I'm going to be signing off on that note. I want to wish everyone the best. Thank you for joining in. Like I said, I apologize for some of the maybe poorly formed jokes for today. My filter has been turned off. Unfortunately, had like a really weird night of sleep. But yeah, what's up, Mr. Filson? Good morning to you, man. And yeah, we'll sign off on that note. Just want to